Hello and welcome to a fluffy video. In case you haven't heard of it, in case you've been living under a rock, WildStar is a up-and-coming MMO with something of a twist on it. It's set in a kind of a sci-fi, otherworldly yet sort of cartoony-looking environ.
Environ.
Yeah, and it's it's an MMO. It's got the usual sort of MMO tropes with some improvements and enhancements, and possibly the most significantly is developed by what was it, like 13, 14,
17
17 original World of Warcraft developers who apparently way back when WoW kind of came out, these guys just sort of said goodbye to Blizzard and started making WildStar. So yeah, if you were a fan of old school vanilla WoW, perhaps this is something you should be interested in.
I mean,
isn't that right?
To be fair to them, yes, definitely. I mean, there are quite a lot of other devs on there now, people from City of Heroes and stuff like that. And it seems they've really fused a lot of things they've learned together over their years of development of MMOs, and put something together which is, well, just brings the best, and then a refined version of the best ways to do things, or what people seem to like, and most importantly, what they like. They're very much on the train of we're gamers and we want to enjoy our game, which is nice. So it's very much like NC Soft. Well, they are NC Soft, so very much like that kind of attitude of getting something right, and doing something because it works.
Yeah, I mean, looking through all their stuff that they've put out, which is actually a fair bit, even though it hasn't been, I think it's fair to say it hasn't been promoted like really hard promotion in the sense of, I think they just want to avoid kind of going for the hype. But looking through it, you do get the feeling that these guys just really care about the game, and it's a legit kind of a thing. It's not a hype. It's something that they actually just want to make really awesome. So that's, it's got the authenticity going for it.
Yeah, it has, and they've been very vocal about being very open about their answers to the community, and they'll answer as much as they can answer when you ask the questions, which is nice. So all the interviews I've seen with them have been very candid. They don't try and get off a subject without giving as much of an answer as they can. And they've also said that they didn't want to start kind of promoting until they had until the things they were promoting were really solid. So they said that they didn't want to hype up or promote something that wasn't going to be in the game. In the end. So they just wanted to be sure that something was going in, and then they would, they said they've got loads of features now which they're ready to start updating everyone with over the next few months. So we've got lots of content coming for them to sort of show us, but they're just being very sure that it is going to be in the game.
Yeah, well, nice. Completely. It's nice. It's nice to see someone not just wanting to hype something and say, "Oh, this is great. We've got all these amazing features." They've actually been careful and said, "Well, let's just sort of put out what we know for sure and be sort of play it a bit more sort of close to the chest in the sense of wanting to kind of push everything out and convince everyone in the world that this is going to be the greatest thing ever."
Yeah.
I don't think they're interested in that. They just want to make a good game. And so, yeah, I mean, what actual specifics we have about WildStar, which, I mean, these are all things that are sort of widely known if you follow the MMO industry or community as such. You're going to have heard some of this stuff, but we're just going to run through some of the stuff that we like specifically in regards to WildStar. And I think I'll start off by saying that I'm quite happy to hear that there's going to be, well, supposedly there's going to be a hardcore 40-man raid style-y.
Yes, there will be. That's pretty much a definite, because these guys want it back.
Yes,
so,
because, and I'll be honest, I'll say this, WoW kind of lost it a bit in the sense of its endgame raiding. They wandered off the beaten path of, and actually, interestingly enough, a League of Legends top developer, I think he's one of the higher devs. I'm not exactly sure who he was, but it was publicised on MMO Champion last week, where he'd actually made some comments about this, where what a game needs versus what its player base wants, or what its player base needs versus what it wants. And in the sense of WoW, you can really tell that people, the players said we want easier access to raids, and the devs kind of just gave them what they wanted, and you end up with a situation where anyone can pretty much see the content with very little effort, and these guys clearly subscribe to the belief that there's something to be said for putting it kind of as an achievement. You earn your way up to that, because back in old WoW, it was actually, it made it that much more epic when you finally just were able to go into, say, Molten Core.
Well, you had to do the whole achievement run, didn't you? And and get all your bits and stuff.
And then the trash mobs owned you, But it was part of that struggle. It was part of that epic kind of thing. And so these guys seem very much in the mindset of, probably not in every sort of aspect, the same model of what WoW did back in the day, but certainly in challenging large raid group style stuff, which I really miss. I was so sad when raiding went down to 25 players. It kind of killed it a little bit for me. I just missed the whole hugeness of that, so I'm glad that that's going to be one of the big features at Endgame. But tell us something, Rob, about before Endgame. What can we look forward to?
Well, really nicely, they're kind of breaking the game up a bit, which is kind of cool, because you know how you play through WoW and you play through the leveling process, and there's a storyline there. And if you read quest text in the old days, anyway, I mean, obviously now it breaks. They've made the questing a bit easier to kind of get the idea of what's going on now in WoW. But in the old days,
just to sort of make a quick side reference, would it be as fluid or similar in any way to the way it was done in sort of in Guild Wars 2?
There will be events that happen, yeah. So they're going to have more dynamic stuff. They're also going to have. You don't have to go back to the quest giver to hand in, for example, but there will be quest givers, so you will be able to pick up quests and fill up a quest log.
So kind of a mix.
Yeah, but so it will be mixed. It'll be because they like the dynamic, the dynamic style events, and that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But they're also putting in old style questing. So you
that's nice.
Pick up quests and you go and do stuff. But then, like I said, you don't have to do that whole run. All the way back to where you just were to hand in, which is good. But interestingly, they've split up the game. So what happens is you go through the leveling process on one storyline. Oh, well, not one storyline. Obviously, there's bits that, depending on what faction you are and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, it will change. But you go and you level up all the way to 60, which I think is the cap. I heard someone say 60 is the cap.
Right.
And then it switches. And it switches to end the Elder game or the end game, and it doesn't just switch to instantly having to gear up to go raiding or anything. It switches in a way where there's story and stuff to do, content that's just normal content, which will lead on to things like raiding and getting into dungeons and all that kind of stuff. But there'll be stuff to do that's not, that the storyline just doesn't end at the end of the game. It actually starts again almost. So what they've said is the story when you're leveling up is almost like you're revealing bits and understanding of the world, and then when you get to the end, it's more about the actual thing that's happening.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. It's an interesting nice way of thinking about splitting it up.
Well, it's like almost like they've looked at the way that Guild Wars 2 did. Well, maybe not. I'm not saying that they took the idea from Guild Wars 2, but they've done a similar thing where the story, it's independent of your level and continues, once you've hit max level. But also they've kind of thrown in a bit of the old method of, there's two different games. There's the leveling game and the end game. So it just seems like a bit of a mix of everything, like the best of all worlds in a sense.
Yeah, and they're not shy about saying, we've taken this idea, and they're quite happy to say, this was a really good idea in this game, and so we've adapted it.
Well, that's
so
good.
I'm sure they'll be. they're quite candid about wanting to get the right kind of formula and finding out, because they've taken stuff from their own games they've made, from City of Heroes. The City of Heroes one that's really interesting actually, it's the side kicking. Now in City of Heroes, if you had a friend who was, say, like a superhero, who's a higher level than you, he could invite you to a party or then sidekick you. So basically what would happen if you were like level 3 and he was level 40, he could sidekick you and you could do content together, which would have been normally out of that level 3's scope.
Yeah.
By basically boosting them up to a level where it wouldn't be easy, but you wouldn't get absolutely pwned every 3 seconds, because you would far
basically
too
it'd be
underlevel.
doable. The content would be like available. Yeah,
great.
So that's awesome.
Instead of having it necessarily back level, I'm not sure if they're going to dynamically back level you like they do in Guild Wars 2. So if you go into, but they're definitely going to do it so you can still kind of play with low level characters.
Awesome,
which is a really nice.
That's good. That's like another take on almost, being able to do content together. Guild Wars 2 does it that way, and then these guys have got another idea where possibly you don't go back to old content and replay it at
it worked pretty well in City of
levels.
Heroes.
But this kind of means that you can still play with people who are higher than you, who are your friends. So that's awesome. Another thing that I kind of think is really in this game's favour, and something that really tempts me about it, is the whole return to a Trinity system.
Yes, the good old Trinity is back.
Because Guild Wars 2, I like the whole idea of not needing healers or tanks, and I think it kind of works for Guild Wars 2 in the sense that Guild Wars 2 is a more free-flowing kind of just go in and do whatever you want kind of experience, and the lack of a specific progression end game wise kind of lends itself to that model that they've done. So I think that's fine. But when all's said and done, I did at sometimes in dungeons miss the order and stuff that came out of a Trinity system of having a solid tank, some people who were committed to healing, and all that jazz.
Yeah, exactly. They've said it is different a little bit, but it's definitely if you're a healer, you're a healer.
Which is great.
And I think well, what they've also talked about a lot is they're trying to create connections and create friendships, and
right.
And how they're doing that is by creating things where you do rely on people. So like in Guild Wars 2, although the team worked well and obviously you had to get people up in the middle of battles and stuff, there wasn't that role of focus.
I just felt like a lot of the time everything fell back to that system far too often because of the lack of healing. Like, you'd spend a lot of time picking people up off the ground because people just weren't. In a lot of cases, even when people were being careful, there was so much damage being flung out.
It was a bit on the crazy side.
Yeah.
But what they're really trying to do is to, because obviously they know that the way that the game is going to succeed and the way they're going to make money, which they're quite candid with, again, is that basically they need to create something which will create communities and friendships and experiences. And the way that happens is to have people who work really well together as a team, fulfilling specific roles, and to create that kind of memorable, experience for everyone. Which I think the Trinity system lends it to quite well, because
it really does.
You do have that, and you have that,
and you have that feeling of when you're in a strong group, you have a role to play. You have that satisfaction of filling that role well, and looking at am I providing the damage that I should be? Am I, that's something that is kind of missed from WoW.
You know when you've got a good healer, and you know when you've got a good tank.
Yeah, and it's that satisfaction in being the good healer or tank.
Yeah, exactly.
And Guild Wars 2 doesn't provide that.
No,
in the same
at all.
way,
I mean, people that can be good players, but
And
they can
that's
still go down randomly.
another part of that. I mean, to come back to Guild Wars 2, I know this is a WildStar video, but I mean, for instance, in Guild Wars 2, the whole locking down of the UI and the combat log and all that is an attempt to kind of angle the game towards an esports PvP thing, which didn't really work. Kind of limited what you were going to be able to do in that sense as well, in terms of seeing your damage and healing output and things like that.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it wouldn't have worked with the PvP aspect unless they just disabled it in PvP.
With the whole lockdown UI, which is another thing in WildStar, is they're going to have a moddable UI.
Yeah, that'll be interesting because they've already said that in videos where you're only going to be able to equip so many skills, abilities, but you will have like a back catalogue of abilities which you can swap out and swap in whenever you want. So what they're trying to do is, in WoW, you could put everything on your screen, and you could bind it to the 400 buttons that some people have on their mouse.
Or create a crazy system of macroing on your keyboard, like I did.
Yeah, exactly. And then you can use everything. Which they're trying to get away from that but then to make the skills useful, usable, but then also to have the massive array of things that you can actually do.
Yeah.
So also you'll be able to swap things out, probably out of combat.
Yeah, I mean, I love that idea of customizing your abilities to a specific fight. I mean, that's something that is opened up by that.
Yeah, exactly. So, but you will be able to mod the UI, supposedly. I mean, that's what they're doing now, is because the UI is not set in stone at all. They created a moddable UI for the game now, so that when QA testers and people like that in-house are playing the game, they can literally mod their own UI. And then what they're doing is, when something works,
incorporating it,
they keep it, or they keep going like that, basically, until they've got something great.
Yeah.
And one thing that they actually said was they actually gave a message to MMO developers saying that if you're going to make an MMO, make sure your UI is moddable, even if you don't release it as a moddable UI, because it just makes it so much easier to develop for.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting.
Well, it's a good idea, because why would you limit yourself? Why would you go, okay, it's this, and then move on? Because what if someone has an idea? Leave yourself options.
Yeah, exactly. It's good. It's good.
Yeah. So another thing that we've got in WildStar is player housing.
Big thing. This is a big thing.
Well, yeah, it's something that people wanted for a long time in WoW, and Guild Wars 2 kind of played with it. A little bit.
They had that the zone, didn't they? Your zone.
Yeah, I never really felt like it was a significant part of the game, but it was there.
Yeah, well, I never went there, really, other than in the storyline. I never thought, I'll go to my home zone now.
No.
Never thought.
But I mean, supposedly in WildStar there's going to be more to it. Like you can grow cooking ingredients there, and there's more sort of interaction.
Yep, you can build your house. You can then decorate it completely. I mean, it's absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Literally, you can place anything anything you want.
Great.
You can paper the walls. You can paint the walls. All that kind of stuff. You can put stuff outside.
Presumably, this is going to tie in somehow with transactions, microtransactions.
Well,
are they going to be unveiling collector edition wallpapers and
I don't know,
decorations for your home?
I don't know, because they haven't specified a payment model yet.
Right.
But what they have said on the payment model, quickly, all the information we have is they're possibly looking at a hybrid best way of doing it for the person.
Wow.
So, for example, if you're a really casual player who just wants jump in and hit stuff, then there might even be a free-to-play model with microtransactions. But if you're a
How's
hardcore
that going
player,
to work?
or well, I don't know. You see,
That's like that sounds like it's almost saying, "Hey, if you're casual, you can play the game for free as long as you buy some shit every now and then."
well, no, I don't know. That's the thing. You see,
Yeah.
they're trying to look at a way of doing it because obviously they want to hit it right. Because to be honest, a lot of people would pay a subscription.
Well, if it was a good game, like I mean, I'll be honest. If the game's good, like for instance, WoW was back in the day, I wouldn't have a problem subscribing.
Yeah.
You know, if you're getting the enjoyment out of it, then great.
Exactly. So basically, what they said about the payment model, I mean, like the hybrid thing is very touchy. I don't really know if that's what they're going to look for, but the main thing is they want you to feel like you're actually not getting screwed out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're gonna make it the best option they can and the best way they can, because they want people to want to play the game. They want people to feel like they're getting their money's worth, but they also need to make money.
Yeah.
They also need to make piles of money.
Well, they do, yeah.
Which is the whole point of a business.
Yeah. No, completely. And people understand that. But obviously people understand that because otherwise you won't get these huge crowd-funded games.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Star Citizen.
Yeah, don't get onto that now. We'll be here forever. But yeah, so exactly. You know, everyone knows they need to make money, and they obviously need to do it. They need to pay. They need to charge for the game in some way. So they're going to do it in the best way they can, using all their experience and.
Good.
You know.
Good.
We shall see.
But it's nice to know that whatever happens is, you know, they don't want to like make people feel that they're getting screwed. That's the main point.
But the housing also comes with the thing is, if you kill something in, you know, like and loot something, you can actually loot items for your house as well. So it all depends what level they're going to go to on that. But the housing is awesome in the sense that if you get stuff in your house as well, it can give you bonuses and boosts, and depending on what kind of stuff you've got in the house, you can grow stuff like you said. You can craft stuff. You can have your own crafting station. You can invite friends over. You can employ people to pick your veg. I'm not sure if there'll be auction house access there, but there will be an auction house.
Yeah.
And you know, they're really playing heavily on the point of having a house and actually using, you know, really using it.
Well, if you're going to incorporate a massive system like that, you might as well make it useful.
Yeah, exactly. There was a video I saw where you can defend other people's houses from raiders, and that's what he said. So whether or not your house is vulnerable to either NPC or you know, or player raiding, we shall see.
Yeah.
But that was an interesting thing. I thought maybe you can actually be raided.
Yeah.
Oh, no. and that was the other thing. Dungeon entrances.
Yes.
You can get a dungeon entrance in your house.
Oh, awesome.
So like on your plot of land, you can build a dungeon entrance, and then people can come and you can set up groups from your house in your garden, and then go into raid and stuff from your garden.
Interesting. Interesting
kind of awesome.
idea indeed. So I mean, yeah, that's we've kind of touched on a couple of things. There's a lot more going on, and possibly a lot more than we can sum up in a individual video. I think what we'll do is we'll come back to WildStar again, because we want to do a lot of coverage on this game since it's kind of one of the big ones that's on the horizon, MMO wise, and possibly one that's going to satisfy a lot of needs that are not currently being filled, particularly with WoW having gone off the rails and Guild Wars 2 sort of lacking in endgame. So we'll come back to it. We'll probably do a video next week looking at classes and pathways and all that stuff, because it's a pretty big system in and of itself. But yeah, we just wanted to just broach the subject of WildStar and bring it to our subscribers and let people know that that's where we were going to be putting our attention to in the coming weeks. So yeah, thanks again everyone for watching this video, and if you're not subscribed, please hit the subscribe button because we do appreciate that. Thank you again everyone for watching, and goodbye.
Goodbye.